friend who all of a sudden stopped talking less, laughing less, and has just generally been upset and snappy for no reason. It was so bad to the point where she quit the thing she was most passionate about, her coping mechanism, swimming. And if you haven't connected the dots, some of you may know that I do swimming as well. Yes, sadly that friend was me. But how can me, a person who never went through something traumatic, have depression? Well, depression can come from anywhere, anytime, and anything. But today we'll be diving into 3 topics about depression. How it works, what are the signs, and if you do have depression, ways you can treat it. Depression, like I said, doesn't have to come from something traumatic. It can come from simple things like stress, bullying, or just not being active. But sometimes stress can come from things you haven't treated. For instance, ADHD, OCD, anxiety, and some other things you may have. For me, it was because the ADHD I haven't treated, the stress I had, and the anxiety. According to mayoclinic.org, depression is a constant, persistent feeling of sadness. This could be true in some cases. Some people out there with depression may feel constant sadness, loneliness, and just feel like they're not worth anything. Depression is also, it affects your brain chemistries, your neurotransmitters, serotonin, which play a important role in the body for keeping mainly daily basis. For instance, mood, sleep, and appetite. If you're having trouble falling asleep or just staying asleep, then that could be some signs of depression. If you have trouble eating, or just, for instance, you don't feel like eating and you just don't eat for 3 days, that's another sign. If you were once a happy person, but then all of a sudden now you just kind of feel like mad, agitated all the time, that's another way that depression has. Oh, sorry. Let's move on to the next topic. The signs that, if you have depression, the signs of depression. Just show you. Signs of depression, as I was saying, is the lack of sleep. If you have trouble just sleeping in general, or staying asleep, or for instance having nightmares, or just going through days without sleep, that is a major sign of depression. Another sign is the lack of motivation, also known as the lack of interest you have. Sure, some may say that, oh, it's because you're growing up. Yes, that could be true. Like, for instance, when you were young, you used to love going to a water park, but maybe now, or when you're older, you don't really feel the joy of going to a water park. But in some cases, this is not true. Say if you play a sport, like tennis, and you have a lot of love for that sport, that when you grow up, you want to be able to do something with that sport. But then all of a sudden, your mood just changed with this sport, where you just want to avoid it as much as possible, or just don't feel like doing it. You start hating on it out of the blue. But depression can also come from not being active. Say if you wake up in your bed and you get up, you go do your things, go to school, right? Normal daily things. Now, I know some of you may wake up and be like, I don't want to go to school today, we have a test. But for depressed people, when they wake up, they just generally don't want to generally don't want to get up or go do things. They just want to stay in their bed and do nothing. Another sign is the signs of suicidal thoughts. Sometimes depression can be so bad where the person or victim may have suicidal thoughts and start harming themselves. But there are ways we can treat depression, of course. For some people take meds, like me. But sometimes these meds have side effects where the person will feel even more suicidal thoughts than before. And especially if you have bad depression, yes, sometimes these meds will make you want to commit suicide. That's why sometimes people don't really take depression meds. Sometimes they talk to a therapist. According to some medical foundation, APA something, I can't really remember, 75% of people who participate in therapy find benefits them in some possible way. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of you may not want to talk about your feelings like me. I don't like to talk about my problems a lot. But just talking about your day or just talking how you feel can make you feel a lot better. Another way you can treat depression is taking a break from any extracurriculums. Now, I know what you might say. Wait, didn't you say that if you are not active, you can have depression? Yes, that's true. But depression does come from stress, and overworking can end up causing so much stress it can lead to depression. But for the people who are not active, they can join an extracurriculum, start exercising, and get their motivation back slowly. There's also another way where you can just do something that makes you feel comfort, like taking a nice bubble bath, blowing bubbles. I know it sounds silly, but for some people it helps them. If you have a pet, hang out with them. Listening to music can make you feel a lot better. Depression is a serious and deadly illness that has caused suicidal rates to go up. Sadly, my cousin was one of those victims of suicide. At age 23, he tried to commit. But thank God, someone was there on time and found him before he could pass away. He went through lots of surgery, lots of therapy, but he's with us now and he's doing well. If you think you have depression, it doesn't matter what age you have to be. 10, 11, 12, 14. You don't need to be an adult to have depression. Now, if you're thinking about these thoughts and you might kill yourself, your depression doesn't go away, it doesn't vanish. Like the old saying goes, your pain won't go away, your pain will just move on to somebody else.